find out and see if we got the right wheel spacers this time.
Let's find out if these ones are the right ones. I like how they're black. Can't get it out of the wrapper. Give me a break though, I am doing this one-handed, so I have an excuse at least. Oh, look at that. 5 by 5.5 by 1.25 77/8 millimeter bore. That should be perfect, if that's correct. So, if it is, well, we're gonna put them on. We're gonna see if it's perfect, so let's get going. Well, it's the moment of truth. According to the writing on the side, these are correct and they should work. So, I guess let's find out. This is hard to do one-handed. Oh my, look at that. Beautiful, they actually went on. And whether or not I have to trim these studs, which I probably do, I don't know. At least they went on. That's a big plus. Just so everyone can see before I actually put these on, here's a before. I'm gonna go tight to the door, so my camera is tight, touching against the door, and that's how much tire you see. And I'll go tight to the body of the truck again. Quite a good amount of tire, I guess. And we'll go to the other side and look around just down along the body. I mean, there is some sticking out now, but it's not, I mean, it's nothing like crazy. And that's tight to the body right in front of the taillight. Alright guys, so I'm going to go over basically how you do these wheel spacers. And for any of you guys who are looking to do wheel spacers, or any of you guys who have Rams that are around this, basically I think the same year that this is, I'll put the link in the description of where I got these. So far I did the one on the other side, and that turned out and worked very well. Now, like I said, I'll go over what you have to do. Basically, it's pretty simple. Obviously, you got your tire off, wheel and tire off. Go ahead, put the new one up, put the spacer on. Maybe. All right. So once you got it on, and obviously your studs stick through, and if you get a good look here, your studs, at least mine are, actually stick past. So what you have to do is you have to cut these studs off and I just make them flush or back in a little bit. You don't want to go back any further than that because you won't have much stud left to actually put your nuts on. So we're gonna do that. What I did with the other side is I just put those spacer on there. Now these are hub centric wheel spacers. As you can see, they go right around the hub. So it's a 77.8 millimeter, I believe, bore size. So get my Sharpie over here. I'm sure there's people who have other ways of doing this, but I just take the Sharpie and I'll get right inside there and just kind of make a mark on one of the threads, and I'll cut it behind that mark, and I'll do that the whole entire way around. Now you only have to do this, at least to my understanding, you only have to do this if your studs are more than, I think, 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches, something like that. If they're longer than that, then you have to trim your studs, and you don't really even have to measure them. You could just put your spacer up there and do it. Now this only, I only have to do this because these are 1.25 inch wheel spacers. So if I would have done like 2 inch or even 1.5 inch wheel spacers, I might not have had to trim those. So it all depends on what you get and what you go with too. So now that we have those all marked, you go ahead and pull your wheel spacer off and get your Sawzall, and you can cut all of them off and go from there. So we'll get these cut off and then we'll show you what you do after that. All right, so we got one cut off, and one thing I do want to mention, this is just what I do, and I use a Sawzall to cut these off with thick metal blade. A hacksaw, you're just gonna take so much time doing that. One thing I do is I take off one of the nuts from the wheel spacer and I put it on the stud that I just cut, and I start it on there, and I do this for all of them after I cut each one. And this one's gonna be a little bit, no, there it goes. So the only reason I do that is just in case the threads or something get messed up or whatever, and then it kind of shields when you're cutting the other ones too. You don't catch the threads. So this is just what I like to do, so it kind of protects the threads, and then you know if it's actually gonna thread on there at the same time. So we'll get the other 4 cut off and go from there. Alright guys, once you have them all cut off and all your other nuts spun on there and the threads are okay, go ahead and take all those nuts you just put on there, take those off, set those aside. And if you did it right and cut them where they needed to go and cut them the right length, you won't have to do it again. And I apologize if the sound quality is bad, it's kind of windy out today. So once you have these all taken off, go ahead, take your spacer and put it on there. And then you want to look down along just like we did earlier, and you want to see if any of those studs are sticking out past, which none of mine are. So then what we can do is we can go ahead, take the nuts that we had back on those, thread them back on, and then you can tighten them up. And what, to my knowledge, what these are supposed to be are 120 foot-pounds of torque, which I go around, always do a star pattern on these. It's the same as changing a tire or putting a tire and your wheel on. You always tighten them in a star pattern and tighten them evenly. So you do the same thing with these. Alright, so that's what it should look like after you get those all on and torqued. And then what you can go ahead and do is you can throw back on your wheel and torque those down, lower the truck, and then torque them the rest of the way, and then put your center caps on, and you're done. It's pretty simple. It takes a little bit of time till you get all your studs cut off, and like I said, I went with an 1.25 inch spacer. So if you go with something different and a different truck, you might not have to cut the studs off. So that's not the case for every scenario, but in my case, I had to do it. So that's what it looks like after you do it. And if you get a good clean cut on there, you shouldn't have a problem threading the nuts back on the studs. So other than that, we'll get the tire and stuff thrown back on, the wheel I should say, and go do the other two. 2 down, 2 to go. All right guys, the thing up here at the front, when you get up to the front, obviously you're gonna have a free spinning hub and rotor and everything. So I don't have another person to like hold in the brakes or anything like that. So what I ended up doing is taking a breaker bar, putting it between the studs like this and pinching it, and then using my torque wrench. And then I was able to get enough leverage and able to torque them. And you don't actually screw up the threads like you would think you do. So that's another tip that I use if I'm by myself. Alright guys, we just got done with putting the wheel spacers on, and here's the after. As you can tell, it's not a whole lot, but it's definitely noticeable. And just it's starting to get dark, so, but here if I look down like I did earlier, put the camera tight against the body, there's definitely a lot more tire showing. And same thing like I did back at the back, the other side, and right in front of the tail light, right on the body, as much if there's any you can see from the way the lighting is. But yeah, I'm definitely happy with that. It definitely has a lot more stance, and I love the way it looks. I love the way it looked before. It has just a little bit more stance now, so it looks so mean. I'm happy with it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys maybe learned something, or if you are thinking about putting wheel spacers, hope I helped you a little bit in the installation process. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and be sure to subscribe. So we'll be probably putting up another couple videos here in the next few weeks for sure. So like I said, yeah, hope you enjoyed today's video, and stay tuned for more. Have a great night.